Hi, I'm Rae Carter, and I'm standing between two beautiful white pine trees in the woods behind our home in Plainfield, Vermont. This is a very special place for me because I spent a lot of time here while dealing with cancer and the health issues that I have been faced with, to let go, to release, and to really reconnect with Mother Earth. And I am at a point where I am turning pain into light, and I'm moving forward with a commitment to live a very heart-centered life. So it's also time for me to step out of the woods and reemerge in the world as a changed person and as a person who has rediscovered who she was and who she was meant to be. I want to share this video to reconnect with some people and to also build the foundations to start to build a bigger community. I want to be able to share my story and the knowledge that I've learned. And I also want to attract and be open to opportunities for where my life and work and my energy is going to take me. I want to give a little synopsis of what my health issues are, and kind of what I went through from just the overarching health perspective, because there was a lot of different moving parts and timelines, and I've gotten feedback that it would be helpful for some people to hear kind of, a short version of the whole story. So I was diagnosed with breast cancer in January 2018. The diagnosis was for DCIS, which stands for ductal carcinoma in situ. It was a non-invasive breast cancer, and so chemotherapy was never a part of a treatment plan for me, just to clear that up for folks, because cancer has a lot of different stages and variations, and breast cancer has 5 different types and stages and all sorts of iterations in between. So all cancers are very different from one another, and treatment plans are very individual to people. Before I received the breast cancer diagnosis, I was already pretty sick. So I was struggling with anxiety and adenomyosis and arthritis, all kind of coming into head at the same time. I was dealing with really intense burnout with work, and kind of at the same time a full realization that the American dream is no longer attainable. And I had a variety of issues with arthritis and inflammation in my feet, in my knees. It ended up spreading to my neck. And adenomyosis is a reproductive disease, and it's similar to endometriosis, which is a little more common, but still, being that they're female reproductive diseases, they're not talked about as much as they definitely should be. And I had abnormal growths in my uterus. I probably still do have abnormal growths in my uterus, but it led to a great deal of pain and really debilitating for a few years leading up to right around the time I found out I had breast cancer. I got the full MRI for all of my arthritis, and I was told I would need a hysterectomy, and I found out I had breast cancer, and I was beyond, you know, able to focus with all of the anxiety that had been building up, and then that really exploded with all of that news, really in a 1 month, 2 month time period. So when I got the breast cancer, my treatment was to first have a surgery, a partial mastectomy, which is called a lumpectomy, which is to remove the cancer from the breast, keeping the breast intact. I had that surgery, and they still found cancer in my breast. And so a couple weeks later, I had another surgery. And these are major surgeries, so it was pretty intense. And after that, I was also dealing with kind of trying to treat all of the other ailments that I had, because the adenomyosis was really very painful. The breast cancer, I didn't have pain in my breast, but the adenomyosis, I was in pretty much chronic pain in my uterus at that point. So that was much more acute for me. And after the second breast surgery, they still found cancer. And at that point, they said I needed to have a mastectomy, a full removal of my breast. And I shut that down. I needed to deal with everything that was going on. And when I found out I would need a third surgery and the removal of my breast and possibly more complications with that, really intense depression set in at that point, and I was in crisis. I certainly had suicidal ideology, an episode or two of completely losing my shit, and was really sick. And what kind of made that even more intense was a little while after the second surgery, while I was trying to just make sense of everything that was going on, I developed a pinched nerve in my neck, kind of a fallout side effect of the second surgery mixed with the pre-existing arthritis that I had in my body. And that caused pain from my neck all the way down my left arm, through my elbow and my fingers, like this tingling, awful pain that would come in these waves. And I couldn't use my left arm and hand because of that pain, and then I was compromised in my right because of the two surgeries I'd had on the right side, and I couldn't move my neck. So this was what I could do. So I was in bad shape, and I couldn't read, I couldn't color, I really could just sit there. And so the magnitude of everything, and how am I supposed to even find work, and how am I supposed to deal with all of this, was really at an out of control place for me. And at that point, the GoFundMe, which I am so very grateful for everybody who shared and supported and helped me get to a place where I could take the time that I needed to really figure out what I was going to do with my health and how I was going to make it through this, considering that I was at a place where I didn't want to go any further. And the fear of losing our house and of poverty were so intense. In a way, they were more intense at some times than the health issues. So it was just all around. But with the GoFundMe, I was able to finally kind of stop, and all of the issues happening at once, including my mobility really being compromised, really forced me to stop, so that I really could just sit and walk very gently into the woods to spots like this right here. And there was a moment when it was a beautiful spring day, and I was sitting on my deck, and I had all of these hot packs and heat packs and ice and props to kind of just keep me in position so that I could move through the waves of pain that would come. And tears are streaming down my face, and the sun is shining on me, and before me is this beautiful scene of spring unfolding and leaves unfurling. And I just sat in that moment, being so present in the moment, and listening to the sounds and seeing what was around me, and was just struck with this wave of, how can this be so beautiful and so horrific at the same time? And that was really a turning point for me in helping me really start a healing journey, where it was very important for me to really look at my whole self, and the physical, the emotional, the spiritual, all of what was going on me, and how I was going to get to the bottom of my health issues and some really dark, shadowy pieces of myself I needed to explore, of how did it get this bad? How did it get here? And what's my part in that? And that kind of started this notion of really looking at conventional medicine, holistic medicine, and how do they balance, and how do they balance for me? And conventional medicine is a very necessary, amazing a source of medical resource. The healthcare system is another whole other issue, but conventional medicine in itself, it treats acute symptoms. It treats, you break a bone, you get that fixed, you have an acute, pneumonia, you go on some drugs, but it treats acute symptoms. So conventional medicine treats symptoms, which masks the source and the cause of the issue. And for me, I really wanted to take a holistic look, which is whole. It's looking at the whole being and the root causes of the diseases that were in my body, because these long-term illnesses, cancer and other diseases categorized as long-term illness, as the bug, they take a long time to develop. So they're going to take a long time to heal. And it's not even about curing. It's really about becoming whole. And for me, coming to a place where I could accept everything that was going on, which I wasn't accepting at that point, but that was the process I started to go through. And that really allowed me last summer to explore this holistic healing path of treating root causes. And so I took the time to not just address the physical things that were going on with me, but emotional and mental, and really going really deep. And it led to a very, very deep spiritual awakening within myself. And it also led me to want to work, who am I going to work with from a doctor perspective, because the conventional doctors were, that's not the kind of care that they're able to give. And, in this current day, I learned you really do need to be your own healthcare advocate. And that became a job for me, was being my own healthcare advocate. And so I'm going to look at this mind map that I drew. It's hand drawn, but I think it will show kind of the picture of kind of what was going through my process of discovering what was going on in my body. And so I worked with a couple of different naturopath oncologists, breast cancer specialists, and I worked with this one doctor in California who did a series of testing on me, genetic testing, toxology testing, metal testing, all sorts. It took a couple of months to really get down to the heart of all of this different type of testing. And what we came up with were the causes of what caused the cancer in my body. So this kind of maps out what I learned through that process. So down here, there are the 6 diseases that I have. So there's the DCIS, the arthritis, the adenomyosis, the retrolisthesis, which is the pinched nerve, anxiety, and depression. And then we move up from a causal perspective. And so the causes being inflammation, insufficient digestion, estrogen dominance, excess androgens, and poor liver function. And those relate to different, not all of them relate to each of the diseases, but you can see from the lines, there's a lot of intersection. And estrogen dominance was kind of a first priority, because that was what connected the breast cancer to the adenomyosis, which in conventional medicine, they don't connect the two, but the two are very interconnected. And then we go up from these causes, to what caused those. So, okay, well, what caused the inflammation? What caused the estrogen dominance? And so genetics plays a huge part, and that's what you're predispositioned to have as your genes in your body. You can't change that. But gene mutations also cause an equal amount, and probably more if you look at all the lines here. And the gene mutations happen in your lifetime. So they're caused by mostly environmental pollutants and the food that we eat and the plastic that's in the products that we use. And what this goes, I'm not going to go through all these specifics, but this was the process for my body specifically, because the testing that I did was able to see what genes had mutated in my body and really relate that to what causes based on the chemicals that were in my body. So it was really fascinating work. And so for me, a lot of it came down to plastic, birth control, GMOs and pesticides in food, which ultimately all link to corporations and our modern day society, which would be why cancer is continuing to accelerate. And cancer didn't exist ages ago for the most part because we're, killing our planet and we're killing our bodies, frankly. And then there's this other kind of societal area over here, which deals with the stress and the trauma and the causes of those, which really link back to the unaccessible American dream for me, and how stress and emotional trauma play huge parts in all of these causes of all of these diseases. So, a lot of information, and I'm happy to chat about that with people because it's a lot of really good information. Again, everybody's going to be different, but there's a lot of crossover, I think, for a lot of people with the diseases, with the symptoms, and with the causes. So once I was kind of working in that realm and really working to treat all of these root causes with different holistic healing modalities, my own work, and working with naturopathic doctors kind of in all of these areas, it was time to kind of come back to conventional medicine because, again, there was still the cancer in my breast. And unfortunately, all of these ways of treating the causes did not get rid of the cancer. That would have been lovely, and if I could do this over again, I probably would have waited before I got any surgeries and done a whole lifestyle and nutrition change before, but I didn't know any of that then, and I was in complete panic, fight or flight, so there was no even, looking at that for me. But once needles start going in your body and biopsies start happening and surgeries start happening, it moves the pathways for cancer. It opens the pathways for cancer to move. And so I had had needles. I'd had a few different biopsies and 2 surgeries. So I'd had a variety of needles in me in different parts of my breast. And so when I went back in the fall, the cancer had spread, mostly because the pathways had been opened by all of the biopsies and surgeries, and so it spread. So I had the mastectomy. So I had a full mastectomy of my right breast and 4 lymph nodes removed. And that was in September. The cancer came really close to my muscle, and I think some doctors thought I may want to have radiation and some other doctors didn't. And I was told by kind of my primary doctor, who I was working with at that time in Vermont, that they were not going to recommend radiation for me. So I was really excited about that, because usually radiation doesn't go along with a mastectomy if it's a non-invasive cancer. So I did not need to have radiation. I still didn't need to have chemotherapy because it was still a non-invasive cancer. So it had spread, but it had not spread outside of the cell walls, if that makes sense. And up next was to have hormone therapy, and I decided to not go on tamoxifen, which is the pharmaceutical hormone therapy. One is because I believe very firmly that pharmaceuticals are not the answer to a lot of health concerns, and it really goes against my belief in reconnecting with the earth and working with plant medicine and holistic healing modalities and treating root causes rather than using a pill. It's a lot of work because it's huge lifestyle change, nutrition, and so it's certainly not for everybody because it has to be treated in another way. It's not just, I didn't just decide not to take the drug, I'm treating it holistically, which is to prevent and lower estrogen dominance. So that's ultimately what the hormone therapy does, is it's balancing out estrogen. So I'm balancing estrogen in other ways, and I've had great success with that because the adenomyosis symptoms have pretty much cleared up, and I don't need to have a hysterectomy. And tamoxifen actually increases your chance of getting adenomyosis, so it would be really silly for me to take it because then I would get the adenomyosis back, which I just finished really working hard to bring back into balance, and it would pretty much guarantee a hysterectomy. And I am not going to get any more of my lady parts cut out. That's just not going to happen. So that is the path that I chose. And I am, people ask, are you in recovery or are you done with treatment? Those questions don't really apply when you're following a holistic treating a cause path, because I'm always going to be in treatment. for the rest of my life, I'm going to be in treatment. I'm going to be treating the causes that cause the cancer and the other diseases in my body, and working proactively to keep that kind of sickness out of my body again. And in recovery, there's the last exams that I had did not show anything that was concern for cancer, and I expect to keep working on that path. And so I don't really think of myself in recovery. I think of myself as I'm ready to emerge. I'm ready to go. This year was a big up and down with a lot of different, dealing with the rest of healing, these other health issues. And I had some arm damage, kind of tendon damage from kind of post-surgery. And so my arms were compromised, especially my right arm, for quite a few months, kind of through the winter. And then insufficient digestion is one of the areas that's being treated in my body. And that really flared up because as I kind of moved down the ladder of what we're treating, that's become an area, and that was very difficult this spring. So I had some scary moments with digestion, but I'm feeling much better, and I can do a full vinyasa, and I'm kind of have my cancer prevention diet set. It took a long time to really make changes and figure out what worked with my body, and I'm ready. I'm emerging. I'm using the name Rae. Rae is my favorite nickname from my childhood, and I do ask that people respect my wishes and call me that. That's what I'd like to be called. And I feel like it just more holistically represents who I am as a person. And I really love the name. I'm just really happy with it. So that's where I'm at with kind of my name and who I am, kind of moving into the world. I am re-emerging into the workforce, and I am definitely looking at doing some coaching, facilitating, advocacy work, writing, speaking, consulting. Kind of all of those are opportunities and areas that I am interested in exploring. I have been doing some business coaching over the past few months with a couple of folks kind of, near where I live in Montpelier. And I'm also active, again, as a board member with Vermont Businesses for Social Responsibility, and I'll continue being active in that group. I have been able to reinvigorate my love of singing, as part of this process has been finding my voice and knowing that I have always had a voice, and I have always been a voice for those who haven't, and that is not something to be ashamed of. That's a beautiful, wonderful part of me, and I really want to use my voice towards good for the planet and good for women, and bringing me to places where I can connect more with women and work on co-creation. I'm really interested in co-creating with women, co-creating with other people, not working in my own silo. And I'm very interested in how women can help each other rise, and how we can empower our own voices so that we can come together and bring forth nurturing energy to help heal the patriarchal wounds that have been inflicted upon ourselves, our society, and our earth. And I'm very passionate about connecting with people who share similar visions, and what good can we do together. And in finding my voice, I've reconnected with my singing voice, which I would say singing is my most favorite activity, even above gardening. And I love gardening, but I really love singing, and I lost that part of me for a long time. And Mitch and I, my partner, have a music project called Huga Den, and it's on Facebook right now. You can connect with it if you would like. It's a musical collective where we're singing live improvisation. So we're coming up with the music kind of right in the moment, and it has a rotating cast of different musicians who come in and out. Different people are welcome to connect with us, and then we put that out to the world, and we hope that we'll have a YouTube channel at some point. But it's Huga Den. Check it out if you want to learn more about my music. And I'm doing a lot of writing. I'm really interested in sharing the lessons I've learned around earth spirituality and emotions and feelings and creativity, and honoring those, and the balance that needs to happen within everybody's body of masculine and feminine energy, different for everybody, but that balance is really important. And I was very unbalanced for a long time, and also that balance is really important for the earth and bringing forth that feminine energy. I've done a lot of work on mindfulness and letting go, and have a lot of knowledge from the different holistic healing modalities that I work with. And so I've got some articles out kind of in the world, and I'll be writing more, and I'm looking for writing opportunities. And finally, I will be writing a book. I've started the book. I'm looking for an agent and a publisher. And it's kind of writing itself. There's multiple perspectives that are kind of telling the story, not just about my healing journey, but lessons that I've learned and the times that we're in. And it's a really beautiful retelling and sharing of a lot of what I have to share, because there's a lot. So I have been encouraged to write a book, and I'm doing that. You can follow me and connect with me on social media. I'm on Facebook and Instagram and YouTube and Twitter and LinkedIn. Rae Carter Empower. The empower is without the E. And if any of this resonates and you want to know more, or you'd like to connect with me, or you'd like to see where co-creation opportunities might exist, please be in touch. I am definitely looking to reconnect and bring in new people into my life. So thank you for spending this time with me. Thank you for sharing this space electronically in the woods here. Thank you for all of the support that I have received. And I hope everybody has a beautiful day. Thank you very much.